Well, thank you so much to the Inner City Law Center for honoring me. People don't often just stand up and say really nice things about you. Have you noticed that in your lives? I mean, there's just no opportunity. And so I'm extremely grateful, Adam and Lindsay and all of you who have been there with me, for me, ahead of me. I stand on your shoulders, you stand on my shoulders. This is how it works. So I just want to say, I've been thinking this week, it's just a great time to be a lawyer. Don't you think? I mean, all of a sudden America is waking up and going, oh, I can't wait to turn on the TV and see what's happening in court. And why is that? I'm not making a joke about who's in court. I mean that it is, I have many friends who have heard me use this phrase, and every time I say it, it's like, oh, not the majesty of the law speech again. But it's the majesty of the law. I mean, I love the fact that this country established a judicial system whose job it was to keep accountable the other two branches at least. And beyond that, all of those in private businesses of all kind, or even as they treat each other as human beings. And to have us still thinking, great, they dragged him into court. Do you know what I mean? I mean, that's what 300 million people are thinking right now. I mean, maybe they are not all saying great, but most of them. And you know, Alexander Hamilton called it the least dangerous branch. And the reason he said that was because it could neither declare war, nor could it adopt the budget. That's really what he said. And yet I think it may be the least dangerous in terms of doing harm to individuals, certainly less dangerous than legislatures, even those in which I've served, or executive branches that we've all seen. But also, it could be the most important branch, and that, I think, is what people are looking at more and more now. And yet you have known it all along. You attorneys, you judges, you support staff, you friends, you family. It's like, how are you going to get people to do the right thing? We all hope when we wake up in the morning that people will do the right thing, that they will care about their tenants, and many do, that they will care about homeless people, and many do, but many don't. 2 years after I graduated from law school, Nancy Minty graduated from law school and decided that she was going to set up business in a trailer, kind of a rusty trailer as I remember, trying to make certain that people who were homeless or in danger of becoming homeless could literally get their day in court, for which, of course, there had to be some law that you would go into court and plead so that you could get help for people. And that really led, I think, to the greatness of this institution, as this Inner City Law Center has led to the greatness of anything that we've done for homeless people in this county and in our 88 cities. Nancy Minty, we knew her, didn't we, Abby? Abby, where are you? There you are. When Abby Liebman and I, really Abby Liebman, started the California Women's Law Center and said, oh, okay, Sheila, you can come along too. And literally, I'm just saying, okay, this was Abby's idea, and I said, how about, did you partner? She said, well, okay. We were in a different set of trenches, and yet understood and knew Nancy, and knew so well what she was trying to do. And how she said, I believe that the law can do this, but somebody has got to go make them do it. And that's why I love being in a room like this, I'm just saying honestly, more than any other room, a room full of lawyers. It's not where most people say they want to be, and they're wrong. because I know you. I know the heart and soul that you put into the work that you do. I know the pro bono work that you do. I know what the judges do, because my sister just retired from being the presiding judge of the juvenile court in Sacramento. It is thankless, it is grueling, it is heartbreaking, but I want to tell you, even when we fail, it's important that we're there. I think you know, though it never feels good to lose, it never feels good to try and not get there. And from what we've heard today, that doesn't happen all that often at the Inner City Law Center. Because of the work of the staff, almost 70 on the staff now, as opposed to when Nancy started and it was, oh, Nancy Minty, table for one, really. And the work that you have done, the leadership, Adam, that you have provided, that the board provides, people just don't know outside. So I want to say, I feel really good that America is coming more and more to understand that they wouldn't have any rights at all if it weren't for lawyers. Somebody has to go in and fight to make those words on paper come alive, to make them mean something. You could amend the Constitution after the Civil War, and you could talk about the equal protection of the law. But as Abby and I found out, the good question is, equal to what? Who needs to be equal to who? What does that mean? We need interpretation. And thank God for Marbury versus Madison, because although now we're not so happy about the Supreme Court, generally over time, they have articulated the kinds of standards that have led to the ability for many, many of us in minority populations to have rights. Rights that we thought were there all along, but had to be declared. Rights that we thought were there all along, but had to be fought for. And it just doesn't stop. So I want to thank you for the work you've done. I want to thank you even more for the work you're going to do, and that we're all going to do, because nothing is ever finished. And it seems like it's 5 steps forward, 3 steps back sometimes, but at least that's 2 steps forward. And if we can protect what we've got, if we can argue for the helpless, argue for those who have no family or friends, argue for those who have no power at all in society, argue, argue, argue. That's what we do best. We fight and we argue. And I think, frankly, those kinds of arguments are a real basis for joy in living. I am so happy to have been part of the legal system for a great many decades. And I intend to keep exhorting you to do this, because, who could do better than to try to bring more and more justice into society and be paid for it? What a job! That's what it was like to be elected. That's what it's like to fight the way you do in court. That's what it's like for those of you sitting on the bench. And I thank you again for this honor, because there's nothing better than to be praised by the praiseworthy. Thank you very much.